It's Audrey. A foil. Albuquerque. Best thing ever. Also, somebody gave me a signed Beyond the Mystical, which I'll just keep on the other side. Pretty rad. This is from the Ego I'm Gonna Deck You presents a reading from the egomaniacal autobiography of Necrobomb Jones by Necrobomb Jones, dedicated to my biggest fan and supporter, Necrobomb Jones. I'm not going to read the intro. I did one of these for a short story contest, which I was accepted. I had to read it. And then I did not know that it was going to be a clapping competition. So I was like, man, I wouldn't have even come because I only brought one person. You know, otherwise it's got to be the best story ever. The other dude brought like 100 people. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to clap for him. But at least people seem to like it. This ain't that long, right? Okay. Rolling the Bones. I believe the above title came from my ex-girlfriend Domino's new drug connection. The fat Mexican kid was chuckling with her, making fun of role-playing and other dice-based games. I was on my way to my first and last Magic the Gathering competition. I denied a lot in that relationship. I met Domino because of Magic. I came over to play at a friend's house and she owned the place. Domino was the only one who didn't play. I wanted to include her, at least in the conversation. I've been feeling like a glowing being of pure charisma. I'd recently mutilated myself at work when a giant radio-controlled Hummer fell on my nose. It tore a hook of skin off. I thought I'd be a freak forever, but it finally healed. Wish that happened in high school. No. Anyway, during the relationship before work, I went to my first ever amateur competition at a store called Comic Cavern. Each of the 10 opponents needed to buy a booster pack of cards, so the pot was 10 packs. It was the possibility of winning $40 worth of cards minus the 4 for the purchase pack. So it was kind of scam, right? I mean, they just sold a bunch of packs. I don't think this wasn't Friday Night Magic. The schedule was going to be tight, but I figured I'd make it to work and have a fun story for my friends. The first thing I had to do was remove my Temple Acolyte. It was from a set called Starter, only for beginners, and illegal in play. That was sad, though the card wasn't essential. My deck was extremely passive and defensive. That has a new home in the Epiphany. It was the first style of deck I'd ever seen win, but mine was very different. Gained life quickly and won the game in an achingly slow manner. I think it was Jake that complained about that, but I'm not sure. Maybe Jesse, I'm not sure. I remember once taking 1 life away for 13 turns until my opponent lost. Often I was told to make it more aggressive. "I'd like to lose sooner, please," they would say. I did as requested, but I missed the original deck I played in this tournament. It was called Booba, after this strange children's show. My Comic Cavern opponent was the only one running late, annoying me as the minutes ticked by. Nearby, 2 young guys played identical decks, filling my insides with fright. Both were infinite combo decks that produced a creature, kill the creature, and produce enough mana, energy you paid to produce creatures, to create another sacrificial lamb. A cleric card did 1 damage to the opponent when the creature was killed. So basically, and I know this might be a lot to follow, 3 certain cards in play, you could legally win the game instantly, and I had no defense for it. Damn. My opponent finally showed up, and by now I was annoyed and kind of angry. Chances were high I was going to be late to work now. There were 5 colors in Magic, and he was playing the quickest, but also the worst to play against me. A red deck did direct damage. I laughed in my head, as there was no way he was going to win. He was the short, balding, fat type you often saw in shops like this. He tried his best. No offense, by the way. It's just description, to anyone listening to this. He tried his best. I ended each game with more life than I began with. Imagine a face-slapping contest where his cheeks were bruised and bloody, and I looked more and more like Jason Statham. The results of the first match were interesting. By some Christmas miracle, the 2 kids lost and were out. I had a chance. My next opponent was a female, and I slowly noticed she was the girlfriend of another player who had also won. Not only that, my first opponent was his friend. They were each using his decks. That is true. The girlfriend was quite a bit more advanced. Yeah, she was awesome. I would actually like to play her again. And playing a deck that removed cards straight from my hand. She wore a lot of black. Thinking back, they both wore what they played. She was sinister. I'll give you that. The first game was quick, as soon I had no options. Once I had some characters on the field in the next 2 long games, I tortured her the same way I did my friends. I stood up. There were only 2 people playing, and one would be my final opponent. I witnessed how the boyfriend beat one of the young kids with the infinite decks. He had a card that made it impossible to play anything that cost a certain amount. He picked 2 and had created a deck around everything he played costing more or less. Many powerful cards cost 2, and he shut his opponent down. I wasn't scared of anything except for being late to work. He looked me in the eye, sizing me up. I had beaten his friend and his girlfriend. I had beaten 2 decks he made. I wore a poker face as he inquired if I might want to split the pot, speaking with a soft voice. We can do that? I didn't speak as if eager, though I completely was. My favorite games are ties. Could I win? Was 10 packs better than 5? Maybe. Could I lose? Was 5 packs better than 0? Yes. I don't really wonder if I could have beaten the guy. I never played him, though I saw him around often. I just happened to have the right deck to beat 2 people one night and a story to tell my friends. And it's soon going to be in the sequel to the Bible because it's like a really good story. My Temple Acolyte moved on to a new deck called Epiphany. Oh, well, there you go. Featuring 3 different kinds of infinite combos. I once played a game that lasted so long, even though I would have lost, my friend still gave up. Maybe I should have called it Gandhi. That's the Temple Acolyte that I had to pull out. I really love that card. That card is just a nice pop back and forth card because 3 life every time you do it is kind of useful. That's it though. Long story that was requested. This has been Marcie. This has been me, Necrobomb Jones. This has been Biana. This has been Audrey. And good night.